Tonight we take a closer look at a story that has sent shockwaves through South Africa's political and criminal justice circles. A story that sits at the intersection of crime, politics, factional battles, and the credibility of the state. Reports have emerged that Vusi Matlala, a name that has floated around both the underworld and sensitive political investigations, was stabbed inside prison last night. Now, in any other country, a stabbing in prison might be written off as just another violent incident behind bars. But this is South Africa, where the walls of our prisons are thin, where political battles extend far beyond parliamentary chambers, and where key individuals often become pawns or casualties in much larger power struggles. Tonight, we're going to unpack who Vusi Matlala is, why his name matters, what this stabbing could mean politically, and whether there may be hidden forces at play. We're diving deep into the networks, the rivalries, the intelligence whispers, and the political fallout that is already starting to ripple. Stay with me, this is a complicated story with huge implications. To understand the weight of the stabbing, we have to begin with the man at the center of it. Vusi Matlala is not a household name for ordinary South Africans, but in political circles, security clusters, investigative journalism spaces, and even within certain ANC provincial structures, his name has floated for years. Depending on who you speak to, Matlala is described as a political fixer, a middleman between corrupt networks, a foot soldier in factional battles, a man who knows too much about too many powerful people. He has surfaced in everything from tender corruption allegations to internal ANC disputes, and even in cases where whistleblowers have pointed to shadowy enforcers deployed during heated political seasons. He is not a leader. He is not a public figure. But he is a node, a connector, in a network of influence and secrecy. And that alone makes his stabbing. Reports coming from insiders, unverified recordings, and early social media chatter say Matlala was stabbed late last night. The incident happened inside a high-risk facility where several politically linked inmates are held. The motive has not been confirmed. There is tension inside the prison because some inmates reportedly believe he was targeted. There is strong speculation that his stabbing is not random. Again, we're still in the early stages, but in South Africa, high-profile inmates don't simply get stabbed without political questions immediately following. The timing is also suspicious. Why now? Why him? And who benefits? To properly read this situation, we must situate it inside the current political tensions in South Africa. Right now, the state is dealing with a government of national unity hanging together with thin threads. ANC factions still fighting each other despite a public image of unity. The MK party reshaping the political battlefield and threatening old alliances. The EFF positioning itself as the moral opposition while facing its own internal issues. Law enforcement credibility at an all-time low. In a country where political assassinations have become disturbingly normal, especially in KZN, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and parts of Gauteng, the stabbing of someone like Matlala is never viewed purely as an internal prison matter. People immediately ask, is this political? Because history tells us that the prison system has been used before as a silent battlefield between political factions. Whistleblowers have been killed. Witnesses have been intimidated. Individuals with sensitive information have died unexpectedly. This is why Matlala's stabbing raises red flags. Let's break down what we know about his political proximity. Matlala was believed to have ties, not formal, but informal, to individuals aligned to certain ANC regional strongmen, a few Gauteng-linked business networks, and whispers have long tied him to past factional battles involving people aligned to both the RET faction and individuals close to post-Nasrec leadership structures. This doesn't mean he was a major player. But he was present. He was a courier of information. A messenger.
into the
an
highest
enforcer
levels
during
of
tense
private
political
security companies.
seasons.
Matlala
These
didn't
types
just
of
steal money.
individuals often
He
hold
exposed how
stories that can
vulnerable the
embarrass
entire
powerful
system was.
figures.
But success in
And in
crime
South
creates
Africa,
enemies
knowing
faster
too
than it
much can
creates
be
wealth.
dangerous.
Every rand
We
Matlala
can't
stole
analyze
belonged to
this
someone.
incident
And
without
in South
confronting a
Africa's
harsh
interconnected
reality.
criminal ecosystem,
South African
someone
prisons
always
are
wants
deeply
revenge
infiltrated
or
by criminal
repayment.
networks,
Rival syndicates who
political
saw him as
networks,
competition
and
for the
hybrid
same
structures
targets
that blur
filed
the
his name
line
away
between
for
inmate,
future
guard,
resolution. Security
politician, and
personnel who lost
businessman.
jobs after heists
This
he
means
orchestrated harbored deep
hits can be
grudges.
ordered from
Police
outside.
officers whose careers
Rival
stalled because they
networks
couldn't
can
catch
clash
him took his
inside.
arrests personally. And
Politically
perhaps
protected
most
inmates
dangerously,
often enjoy
gang
private
leaders whose
privileges.
operations he disrupted
Guards
or
can
whose
be
territory
compromised.
he inadvertently
So when
encroached
someone
upon
like
marked him
Matlala
as
is
a
stabbed,
problem requiring
is it
permanent solution.
gangster-related?
When the law finally caught
Is it
up with Matlala
disciplinary?
during a botched heist
Is it
where an informant had
intimidation?
tipped off authorities,
Or is
he
it
didn't just
silencing?
enter prison as an
Those
inmate.
questions
He
need
entered
honest
as a marked
answers,
man
but
carrying
rarely
debts,
receive them.
grudges, and threats
This
that
is where
followed him
things
through
get
those days like
interesting.
shadows.
The stabbing comes at a moment when several corruption cases involving ANC-linked business people are resurfacing. Whistleblower testimonies are starting to connect previously hidden networks. Pressure is mounting on intelligence structures to clean house. Powerful individuals fear exposure from ongoing investigations. If Matlala was someone who held sensitive knowledge, or who was suspected of cooperating, then timing matters. Political violence in South Africa rarely happens randomly. It often has a strategic timing, designed to stop a leak, prevent testimony, send a warning, or weaken a rival faction's influence. Even if this incident is not political, it will be interpreted politically. Section 7, Public Reaction and Social Media.
Unrelated charge.
Since the news broke, social media has been divided into three major reactions. 1. This was a hit. People who believe there is no such thing as coincidence in SA political violence. They point to his connections and the pattern of silencing. 2. This is normal prison violence. People who argue that the prison system is chaotic and violent every week. Their view, not every incident is connected to politics. 3. The state is losing control. These are people who see every high-profile prison incident as another sign of state instability. This division itself reveals how fragile public confidence is in our institutions. People no longer trust the SAPs, correctional services, the intelligence community, the political leadership. This skepticism shapes how every incident is read. Section 8, EFF, MK, the ANC, how these parties may react. EFF. The EFF has long argued that the criminal justice system is captured and used selectively. They may see this as evidence of a system where politically sensitive individuals are unsafe. MK Party. The MK Party is likely to frame this as yet another example of the ANC losing control of the state, especially its security cluster. The DA may use this moment to highlight systemic failures in prison management, corruption among guards, and the collapse of law enforcement oversight. ANC. The ANC will have a delicate task. If Matlala has historical ties to ANC-linked networks, the party will want to distance itself without appearing defensive. Section 9, could this affect upcoming political battles? Indirectly, yes. Here's why. 1. If Matlala was connected to any sensitive political cases, the stabbing may slow or derail investigations. 2. If the incident is perceived as political, it becomes a talking point in parliament, in rallies, and in factional battles. 3. Opposition parties may cite it as evidence of a failing state. 4. It may influence internal ANC power struggles, as factions accuse one another of orchestrating or benefiting from the incident. 5. If it emerges that he was cooperating with investigators, it could trigger a broader political storm. Section 10.
The 20th success, focused on accumulating wealth, saw his connections to the outside world and his stashed millions as resources they could access through coercion or partnership. The 27s viewed him as either a future enforcer whose strategic mind could benefit their operations or as a threat whose independence might challenge their authority. The 28s, always recruiting, assessed whether he could be controlled and exploited. Meanwhile, unaffiliated inmates saw him as the establishment saw him, a criminal mastermind whose downfall proved that even the smartest operators eventually fail. This created a pressure cooker environment where Matlala had to navigate competing interests, demonstrate enough strength to avoid being victimized, but not so much strength that he threatened the existing power structure. One wrong conversation could trigger yesterday's attack. If you're still watching, here's what you need to do right now. Hit that subscribe button, because we're covering this story as it develops, and the next 48 hours are going to reveal information that completely changes how we understand prison violence in South Africa. More importantly, drop a comment about whether you think Matlala will survive long enough to see his trial appeals, or if this attack is just the opening move in a longer game. We're about to explore the security failures that made this attack possible, and trust me, what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about correctional facilities. The security failures at South African correctional facilities aren't occasional lapses. They're systematic collapses that have transformed prisons from rehabilitation centers into combat zones. Official reports show that South African prisons experience violent incidents at rates nearly 4 times higher than comparable facilities in developed nations. Yet somehow weapons continue flowing into supposedly secure environments with the regularity of supply chains. How do sharpened metal fragments make it past multiple checkpoints, metal detectors, and pat-down searches to end up in inmates' hands during what should be a controlled common area period? The answer reveals a rot that goes deeper than mere incompetence. Correctional officers, paid salaries that barely cover basic living expenses, face a daily choice between enforcing rules that might get them killed or accepting bribes that supplement their income. Some estimates suggest
whom it could have exposed. Conclusion: a country where nothing is ever simple. South Africa is a nation where crime, politics, and power frequently overlap. Where a prison stabbing is never just a prison stabbing. Where individuals like Vusi, Matlala sit at the blurry intersection of political networks, criminal structures, and state institutions. His stabbing forces us to confront difficult questions. Who controls our prisons? Who controls our political networks? How safe is someone who knows too much? And what does this incident say about the future of our political order? Whether this was a targeted hit, an internal clash, or a chaotic act of violence, the timing, the context, and the implications make it a story that cannot be ignored. Please stay and engage and stay informed. Don't forget to like and share. Thanks for watching.